Well, I was blessed with great parents, Bob and Jean Curby, who gave me a great foundation for success in life. They always stressed the value of doing things the right way. They valued toughness and strength, and those are certainly attributes that I used in my wrestling career as well. I was exposed to wrestling as a junior high student, and I had a wrestling coach that really didn't know a lot of technique, but he conditioned the heck out of us, and that aspect really intrigued me. And as a young man, that the whole developmental, physical development side was very appealing. At Ann Arbor Pioneer High, I was able to be all-state in wrestling, and coming out of high school, I was able to win the first junior nationals out in Iowa City. Moved on to Michigan. We had some great teams. I was lucky to be a 4-year starter there. And
as a team captain and Big Ten champion for Michigan, Dave was well respected by his teammates and competitors. But beyond his success on the mat, Dave has distinguished himself for his contributions by developing the Jacob Curby Foundation, the Curby Cup, and creating the International Network of Wrestling Researchers. All of us at Michigan are incredibly proud of the mark Dave has left on our sport.
Well, when I first came out of college, I was a high school teacher in physical education and wrestling football coach and wrestling coach. Because I really wasn't any great technician, I think I gravitated more towards the academic side of things. And as I got my advanced degrees, I started using my curiosity to investigate the sport of wrestling. And I started collecting any article I could find, research articles, scholarly articles, and eventually I've got, to this day, about 3,000 articles of wrestling research from around the world in my basement, probably one of the largest holdings of wrestling studies in the world. Both my sons kept me involved with wrestling, Nick and Jake. Jacob was on the national team and started working with Ivan Ivanov up at Northern Michigan.
We started the scientific testing to our elite athletes, and at that time it was a great contribution to David because always the funds are always short. He contributed a lot to the program, and I really appreciate all his efforts, everything what he did for the Greco-Roman wrestling at the highest level.
Traveling around, watching Jake, I made a lot of contacts around the world, and that sort of piqued my interest in becoming involved on an international scale and give me the chance to do that. I think it was in 2007, I was in an advanced Greco coaches clinic in Almaty, Kazakhstan with Andy Saris, and there I met a couple of wrestling researchers, Yanis Barbas from Greece and Bakhman Mirzaev from Iran, and it was there that we started our program called the International Network of Wrestling Researchers. From this, we started lobbying to then FILA to have a scientific commission. After several years, finally it came to pass where they approved that commission, and they named us as the first members of that commission, and I was named secretary. Some of the things that we're called upon to do is to develop sound educational programs for coaches, training programs for athletes. Specifically, we've made some recommendations. One that I think has just been recently implemented was going back to the multi-day competition rather than the one day, where we saw that athletes having 5 grueling matches were not at their peak for the finals. And this is a detriment to the sport. We've organized scientific meetings and conferences around the world. We want to be able to share the knowledge that's being discovered. We want people to be able to work in wrestling and affiliate themselves with working in wrestling. One of the things that our main vehicle for this has been the publication of the International Journal of Wrestling Science, which is a scholarly journal shared around the world, and it also provides students, graduate students, PhD students, with the opportunity to study the sport they love and publish in that area. Anytime a sport is valued, you must have a strong knowledge base. And we hope to provide that, not based on myth or because some old coach did something. We want to have a solid foundation for wrestling based on science and knowledge. We want to have the benefits of wrestling experienced by as many of the youth of the world as possible, because we know what wrestling can give.
He also established one of our best Greco-Roman tournaments in the country called the David Curby Cup. He named this in honor of his son, David Curby, who was one of our top Greco-Roman wrestlers at the time of his death. This tournament was crucial in the progress and development of our Greco-Roman national team for many years.
I've been blessed with a very supportive family, from my great wife, Lynn, who raised two great wrestlers, Jacob and Nicholas, and then also our daughter, Courtney, who is a soccer star in her own right. Receiving the Order of Merit is the pinnacle of any achievement that I've made through the sport of wrestling. I'm humbled to be part of such a great legacy of previous award winners. I can't believe that I'm part of that fantastic group.